I heard somewhere that we are 20% more attractive to other people than we think we are to ourselves. So that's why I wanted to do this reading. Hello world, and welcome to Elevated Intuition. Today we are talking about what makes you so attractive. I have 3 groups to choose from today, and then of course we've got our tarot decks, but then I've got like multiple decks that you can see mostly behind this Feline Fantasy here. Cards that also go along with these decks. So for group number 1, if you like to pick with, you're using your intuition here to pick the group, and I have timestamps down below. And if you like to pick with objects, the object that goes with group number 1 is this very beautiful rainbow fluorite heart. For group number 2, we get, this is a Mookaite heart. And for group number 3, Goldstone heart. So just take a moment and take a look at the decks, relax if you need to, make your choice, and then we can get to the reading. Hello group 1, we've got our rainbow fluorite here, our number 1, our Feline Fantasy deck, which we're going to put over here to the side for a second. I can separate it from the rest of these cards, but we've got a ton of cards here to look at. So what makes you so attractive? First coming out with Nyx, so I'll tell you about her in a moment. Rose, waning crescent, so there is a lot of physical beauty here. However, I feel like with these other 2 cards, like Rose is front and center out there, knows they're beautiful, but I feel like your beauty is a little, I don't want to say off, but it's not the classic beauty. It is the je ne sais quoi. There's just something about you, and you may not be fully comfortable with that when we have Nyx and waning crescent. Nyx is somebody who is very powerful, but she is not used to or wanting to be in the spotlight. And waning crescent, like I would expect with Rose that we would have the moon over here. So I think when we talk about beauty and physical beauty, like Rose definitely tells me there's a lot of physical beauty here. But again, it's not the on the nose classical physical beauty that, like everyone would expect. And I'm getting this image of like those filters, like you don't need to add any of those filters. And it's just interesting to me how when people add those filters, how everybody ends up looking the same. Or when all the makeup, you're supposed to shade your nose in a certain way. That's not you, it doesn't work for you in that way, or it doesn't have to. You know how to work outside of that system. I also feel like you're very in tune and in touch with the people around you. You're very connected to them. They're very important to you. She who doubts, fear, wariness, trust. It's almost like if we didn't have social media, you would be better. You'd be better off. And I feel like you're harder on yourself than you need to be. I love this kind of scar coming across Enid's face here, because again, I just see that more character rather than that flawless beauty, like Cindy Crawford kind of thing. Like, of course, Cindy Crawford is that classic beauty, but what really makes her stand out is that one little thing, that little imperfection that makes her stand out. Like, if you think of, honestly, I couldn't pick out any of the Hadids from a lineup. I have no clue who they are. And half of the Kardashians, like, they look all the same. I don't even know what they do, but you have this beautiful uniqueness about you, and there's this strength behind you that really embraces. I feel like there's some darkness here, and darkness in a good way. Like you have overcome darkness. I feel like, you know, Nyx likes to be behind the scenes. She likes to kind of operate in darkness, and it's interesting. She has the phases of the moon here, and then we get waning crescent as well, and then we have this Enid who's coming out from the shadows. I feel like this is your time really to embrace who you are and your insecurities, because I feel like your insecurities is what makes you unique. Here, artist, I think this is what adds to insecurities, because there's this creativeness, this creative streak around you that, gosh, you are your own worst critic. Everybody else just, they see the rose, but there is like a great depth around you, and probably because of this creativeness. Take on the day with real vision, be an inspiration, use your big ideas well, feel all the talent and creativity you have inside you. So, and again, just the artist on its own, like beautiful, but there's so much depth here with Nyx and Enid. And of course, I feel like doubt for you is almost a superpower, and you should see it that way. Let's shift it into that way, because looking at something, and it's more about doubting your creative process, you and your vision and what goes on in your head is so, I don't want to say extreme, but extravagant and unique. And sometimes when you explain to people, they just really don't get it, because they're not this artist vibe. They don't have this depth that you do. But when you show them something, it really is something like it's a wow moment, and there's a lot of wow moments. And I feel like you keep wanting to up yourself in that kind of, like, you want to show that bigger and better to yourself, but I also feel like less is more here. And the waning crescent and the beggar over here kind of talk about that there are things that are going to be out of your control, and I feel like there's just understanding that you're not the only one who has a lot of things going on, a lot of possible things that are just kind of out of control. Nyx is somebody who's who, I keep saying this, who's very, very powerful, but I feel like when there's chaos around, you have very unique ways of dealing with it and helping people through it. I almost feel like you are better to help other people, like you see them first and you want to help them first rather than help yourself. I think you're very valuable in that way. Again, the waning crescent kind of talks about things being out of control, and it can talk about having like this bigger having a bigger picture. And it's interesting, you know, I said that shadow self, and we've got the waning crescent and the beggar over here. Let's just read this so we're not afraid of it or scared of it. Confronts empowerment at the level of physical survival, awakens the spiritual authority of humanity, compassion, and self-esteem. So see, even though the shadow attributes is dependence on others to the exclusion of effort, I feel like the only exclusion of effort I would see here is that you're trapped by your own mind a little bit and getting overwhelmed with things. And that's why I think that like meditation would help you. This beggar aspect with the artist is kind of interesting. I feel like you're somebody who would really shine, even though it can be kind of scary, but you would really shine at being an artist. You would really shine at trying to, and it's chaotic but being like the entrepreneur kind of artist where you have to trust your creative process and your uniqueness, and there's nobody else like you, that you can go on and, ooh, I love that Seven of Wands there, having that strength to dip into, to sell your items on Etsy, on the side of a road, at carnivals. Interesting, we've got two sevens over here. So we've got the Seven of Wands and we've got the Seven of Pentacles. This is you. Okay, the Seven of Pentacles, because there is actually a lot of earth energy. I feel like there's a lot of down to earth energy here. So I'm not surprised to see a Pentacles card. This says it represents perseverance, diligence, hard work, potential for success. I think you're one of those people though who so you have to be careful with this. Yeah, you have the ability to super dig deep. I think you've been through a lot of things and that has been really helpful to you, but you're gonna say something about it. You might complain about it a little bit. Your friends are gonna hear about it. Your partner's gonna hear about it. Your family's gonna hear about it. Just be careful of that. And I think that's why kind of like that beggar is here, because you know, when you've been through a lot, you understand what it's like to not have things. And I feel like you are working here and creating and building, and you have this great strength because you are comfortable with your shadow side, your shadow self, and your, you know, you're building up that strength. That doesn't mean that you don't have to accept it all the time. Doesn't mean that you don't have to be like, ugh, I'm happy about challenges. I think you're somebody who comes out well with challenges, and that's why we have these lucky sevens here. The Seven of Wands, we have two Wands cards, which again doesn't surprise me with this creativity and this artist energy and this creativeness that surrounds you. The sevens here are victories. This is digging deep and persevering, and then this is you've had a victory, you stand out, and then other people can kind of come at you at sometimes, which is hard for you because you feel like you're the champion of others. You feel like you would stand up for others. So when nobody's standing up for you, even though you're strong enough to stand up for yourself, you can kind of look around and be like, hey, where are all my people? Where are all my friends? Seven of Wands to me sometimes speaks to you don't have to accept everybody else's criticism. You are your own worst critic and you are your own best critic as well. So somebody else, and especially there are things, especially when you're an artist, when you make these conscious decisions to do something and somebody else viewing your work hasn't quite thought everything through, and they're like, well, why didn't you do this? A lot of times it can be very like they're just interested in learning. A lot of times it can be I feel like you attract some jealousy. So sometimes I feel like, you know, you might be out there in front of something and you're accepting this criticism almost like a martyr, but you have to decide how much you want to take on, and that's totally up to you. You can put boundaries around yourself, and you don't have to accept anybody else's, there's no reason for you to accept anybody else's opinion is what I'm saying, because you are strong enough to have your own opinions. Seven of Wands represents challenges, courage, maintaining control, and perseverance. Nyx and Enid also, that courage and perseverance is really shining through here. So if you needed a pep talk or a sign of like, should I keep going with this? Yes, absolutely keep going with this, because we've got the King of Cups and the Ace of Wands over here as well. The King of Cups, so when I was talking about boundaries and people, the way that they speak to you, they may not understand how, especially if they're not really artists, how much of yourself you're putting into your work. And you know, you can be an artist you could be a spreadsheet artist really, It's really about an energy and an artistic way or artistic expression. I mean, I really expressed myself most artistically when I was working as a receptionist. So you're an artist's an artist. It doesn't matter what role they are taking on, because it's a way that you're handling it with style. And that's what I think the King of Cups is here to tell you, that, you know, sometimes we feel like I'm not living in some loft in New York and scraping by and painting on a canvas. I'm not an artist, but that's not true. There's so many people who create with food, with, again, like I said, when I was a receptionist, like the way that you handle situations is very artful. And it's just a living, breathing type of art that you're doing every day. It doesn't mean that you have to sell. Like, I consider myself an artist when I paint my nails. So I feel like it's important for you, and it's to express yourself in an artistic way. Just choosing your clothes, you can be an artist. But not all, you know, I'm thinking of Michael Kors here, who always notoriously wears black, but he's like an amazing artist for other people, where you can be an amazing artist. That kind of be with the roses here, like your canvas is yourself. The King of Cups, what I think, I'm not sure I got this out here, but he represents balance, charismatic. He's emotional control, order, and structure. So you can absolutely be like I said, a spreadsheet artist. You just make everything, just give it a little bit of something. You just make everything a little bit more. I feel like you have kind of a signature where that people around you know when you have touched something, because again, you just give it that little bit extra. The King of Cups is on his own island. So this emotional control, this order, this structure, he is somebody who does not allow people with their crappy ideas to come in here and mess with him. And I kind of feel like this emerging here with Enid and the strength with Nyx is something that you need to be comfortable with, whether you're not right now. It's coming. It's very connected to the King of Cups here, of knowing yourself. And even the rose here, knowing yourself, knowing what you were trying to create, and not being knocked off your pedestal by somebody who knows nothing about what you're doing or what you're creating. Again, I feel like the attraction of jealousy, so there's people who can come at you from that idea of jealousy. There's people who can come at you from the idea of ignorance. And there's just people who want to be mean for whatever reason, and you don't have to accept their opinions. You can absolutely block them out. And then what do we have here but the beautiful Ace of Wands? I feel like there's always a cycle within our art where we're creating or being or seeing new ideas and in new ways. Aces are, if I can pick this up, aces are amazing for potential. We've got this full potential of this creation, and the ace represents the beginning of career, creation, desire, enterprise, and travel. And I feel like, you know, a lot of times we have these moments in our lives, like a career, like how often do we start a new career, or we have these new beginnings. But I feel like every day for you is this beautiful potential to create something new. You almost seem like a person who would take like different ways on the ride home because you get bored with things. So I feel like this newness and creation, I love it with the King of Cups over here. I think if you merge those, like, you get excited. You might have to be somebody who has a ton of projects out there that aren't fully finished. So just be aware of that you can add a little bit of balance to that. I'll add a little bit of control, a little bit of structure, and finish it. And I also feel like the King of Cups helps in that. Sometimes we get knocked off by what other people say. So let's keep your perseverance here and just wrap it into your creativity and push through. You know what it's like to be on that dark side. You know what it's like to, you know, have trials and tribulations. And really everything that I'm seeing here is kind of that which what is that saying? What doesn't kill you makes you stronger, kind of vibe that's going on. So that's what I have for you, Group 1. Sending you lots of love. Thank you so much for being here with me, and I will see you in the next reading. Hello, Group 2. So we've got our Mookaite heart here, the number 2, our Mystical Moments Tarot, which I'm just gonna peel off the top here and put over here. We'll shuffle that on camera. But I'm working with so many cards today that I went ahead and shuffled these off camera. And for time's sake, we have Oshun, Pansy, Zombie. So that's interesting. I feel like there's some conflicting energy here between Oshun and Zombie. And then Kamala, she who emerges. I think that tells us about this relationship here. Because zombie, you know what a zombie is. A zombie, walking around aimless without ideas, but maybe a trust issue with yourself here, because when you've got Oshun and Pansy, oh my gosh, Pansy is so friendly and beautiful. It just talks about the connections with other people and family and building that, and a community I think is important to you. But I feel like Kamala kind of talks about this Oshun zombie relationship, she who emerges, this enlightenment, mindfulness, raise up. So Oshun, let's talk about her because she's so beautiful and powerful. She is an Orisha from the Yoruba religion. I actually have a friend who practices that religion, and he's Cuban. Oshun is a West African Orisha. Orisha, I think of as goddesses, so you know, correct me if I'm wrong, but like in most terms we would, instead of Orisha, we would say goddess, but I'm going to say Orisha because I'm going to honor Oshun. She's very connected to water, she's very connected to life, she's very connected to this being malleable and moving with things. But water can also be very destructive, so she creates, but hell hath no fury like a woman scorned. She can destroy too. And my friend Al, shout out to Al here, again, he was from Cuba, he now lives on the eastern part of the United States, but so interesting how he's Afro-Cuban, so he was ancestry, came from West Africa and was enslaved, you know, his ancestry is slavery from Cuba, and how they kept the religion is so interesting, and I think so powerful, talking about like the figures in the religion. The Orishas are so important to them. I just feel like, you know, this conflict here between Oshun and Zombie is, I almost feel like society you know, you're kind of going along with society and like the face that you put on with it, but everything else, but because there is this thing about that you enjoy about connections, but I feel like your uniqueness is something that can help you connect with other people. I feel like this, you know, when we have that zombie coming out, it's kind of like a time for introspection. It's time to use your head. It's time to like start moving past maybe this, even though we're in the flow here with Oshun, but there's like this flow that happens where you're following the crowd, and I'm seeing just a stream here where you're moving off into your own calm waters that you don't, I almost see like there's these rough waters that everybody else is moving in, and you're just gonna divert off and float away into your own actually really power. I hope that makes sense to you. It's time to break away, and it's time to connect with your own power. Poet, Knight. I was only going to pull one of these, but these both jumped out. That's an interesting duo here. And then Visionary. Visionary, take on the day with real variety, be assertive. So I feel like this Kamala energy and this Visionary energy is just like this emergence that is happening with you. I feel like we're going through a transformation and I feel like you've already kind of done that, but you don't quite appreciate where you are, and I think it's important to appreciate how far you've come. Use your creativity well, and creativity here with the Poet as well. Feel all of the possibility and expression that you have in you. Again, Visionary, I would definitely connect with Oshun. There's a story about, I think it's repopulating Earth, where she's the only female Orisha that was sent to Earth to repopulate it. There was 17 of them. Again, I may be wrong with that, but there were quite a few, and nobody could do it but she could, through her really kind of love. And I wanted to double check this. Yes, one of 17. So there's so many myths about her, but this one in particular that I'm talking about, she's the only female amongst 17 Orishas sent to populate Earth by the higher deities. All the others try and fail to bring back life to the planet and end up looking pleadingly at Oshun for help. She brings forth her powerful healing waters, because she's the Orisha of, like, there's so many Orishas, so there's a particular kind of water that she's the Orisha of that I don't quite have right now. They look at her, and she brings her powerful healing waters, and all of the species of Earth spring into existence. So she's very powerful in her religion. She is about fertility and water and love and luxury and pleasure. So I think a lot of those things that I'm describing, sometimes we get, again, there's this conflict between her and the zombies. Sometimes we feel like we need to hide that luxury or that pleasure, or it's just a really crazy world that we live in right now, especially when, on social media. And I think that there's like this, again, with the pansy is about connection to other people. There might be this part of you that you feel like you need to hide. However, with Visionary, it's kind of like, hey, you need to put this out in the forefront. Poet, express the soul's insights in symbolic language. So I feel like there's a part of you that, and then Kamala and Oshun, very much emotional connection here. So there's connect with emotions and expressing yourself with emotions through your words. It's very powerful. You seem like somebody who would not necessarily love reading the dictionary, but those new and interesting words. And you may not be like the person who really kind of projects that the Oxford English Dictionary, because I'm getting the image of Eminem here, who is like that lyrical poet who has like, just the way that he chains together words is so, because music is also something that is kind of coming through, and visionary. If you haven't tried writing a song, I think you should do that. I think that could be very cathartic for you. Again, this emerging here, I mean, you're meant to express and show your talents and not hide them away. Knight, loyal, romance, chivalry, a love of honor. Like you have this honor here, and I feel that's kind of very connected to the pansy. Pansy being connected to others and love. We get the Emperor reversed. Let's see what else we get here. Four of Wands, that's celebration with others. Empress, yeah, so a very feminine energy, very creative energy, and sometimes I feel like you stand in your own way. Look at how cool this Queen of Wands is. When you look at this, these are two completely different artists, and she could be Oshun right here, even though Oshun would probably be more connected with like the Queen of Cups because that's water energy. There's definitely, I mean, she helped bring back and create it with love. So a lot of fertility energy here. If you are not a parent, you would be an amazing parent, or help foster that creativity in other people, help bring that forth. I'm kind of sad that the Queen of Wands came out in reverse because again, I think the zombie is I think there's a lot of doubts here. That the cards are saying, you know, don't doubt yourself, stand up in your strength. Also very interesting that we've got like this bees here, and we've got the bee here with Oshun, again, that pollinating those flowers, that creativity, that creative energy. I love the Four of Wands, again, that connection with other people, that dancing, that romance. Wands energy, so creative, that fire, that desire, and I think you're supposed to follow your desires and don't hold yourself back. And I feel like the Emperor is here in reverse. Like the Emperor is a really amazing card, quintessential masculine energy, but the Emperor can also represent kind of society, and again, it's more on your ideals instead of letting others hold you back. And it's not even necessarily that society is wrong. It's just sometimes that there's a lot of things to release here and involved in, you know, it might be like your family always thought you should be a certain thing, and you're like, but I've got this beautiful creative energy. I should be a teacher. I should be working with kids. I should be fostering this creativity light where they think you should be a doctor, that kind of thing, or not necessarily that, again, that writing here. A lot of times you want to be a writer or express yourself in that way. There's ways that you can do it where you're still putting food on the table for yourself. So I feel like there might be something in the undercurrent here, like with the Emperor and the zombie, where there's some ideas in your past that need to be challenged because they're holding you back from embracing who you are. And all of these cards, and I think that's why the Queen of Wands came out in reverse. It's really just embracing this creativity. That I keep saying that over and over again. The Four of Wands, 4 is also a number of stability. Like this is a stable card. So sometimes we feel like when we're embracing this part of ourselves that we're not as stable as we could be because we're not like you know, working in a bank or that kind of thing. But you know, you're meant to follow your creativity. I keep saying that, but I mean, this is all about, and it's following that intuition as well. But also the Empress, like this is fostering and helping others. Pansy, fostering and helping others. This love and chivalry, and I just feel like this is like the dawning of kind of like a new age for you. So that's what I have for you, Group 2. I hope that you have an amazing day. Thank you so much for being here with me, and I will see you in the next reading. Hello, Group 3. We've got our Goldstone here, our number 3. our Art Nouveau deck, which I'm going to move off to the side. I just want to make sure I have all the cards that I want to start with here. We have a lot of cards, so I went ahead and I don't know where this is coming from, but I'm getting like ink on my background. Anyway, I don't want to get them on my cards. We have a lot of cards, so I went ahead and did a pre-shuffle on these, and then we'll pull out the other ones and shuffle on camera to get more information. But we're starting off with Morgan Le Fay, Sunflower, and Kitten. So this is the question of what makes you so attractive. Morgan Le Fay is a very interesting character, very strong character. The way she's written in mythology is not always very positive, but I think it has more to do with the time period and like a strong, very female person. So we're going to go with that. I like the way that this deck interprets her rather than mythology. She's the half-sister of King Arthur. So there's just, in the mythology, she's like the most beautiful woman in the world, and then when she starts to question authority or question Arthur's authority, probably because she knows who her brother is and everybody else might be enchanted by him and she's not, then she starts losing her attractiveness. But we're just gonna go with that as being a little bit misogynistic here in our interpretations. But like I said, I like this book because it addresses those things in history and how it sees powerful people, powerful women. You know, Cleopatra is another one of those that is so beautiful, but then there's so many texts about her not being beautiful. Like attractiveness for women is really kind of when you're not agreeable, it's something that gets attacked. Thank goodness we live in today's day and age, right? Because I feel like you are somebody who's very individualistic, and that while this is a quality that maybe in the past, like this ambition, this follow your own path, follow your own strength, finding, you know, she's very finding her own path. Like that is something that's very much valued now that perhaps in the past, and maybe you even had these thoughts where like in your grandmother's world or beyond that, your ancestors' world, that you may not have fit in as well as you do now. Maybe there's even times where you don't feel like you fit in now. Just sometimes I feel like that as well. I mean, come on, I'm reading cards. There were time periods where that was not the best. some very crazy things could happen. So I kind of feel like there's just with Morgan Le Fay here, and even the Kitten, because kittens have their own agenda. They're not so worried about whatever, you know, where the crowd is going or what is acceptable to society. And those things shift all the time. It's really interesting. And it even shifts based on like the neighborhood that you're in as well. So I just feel like it doesn't matter where you are, and this is amazing that you are who you are. And I love the sunflower here. Sunflowers are just bright and beautiful and big, and I see just like a lot of personality here. I feel like you're somebody who, if it depends on who they ask about you, they're gonna get very different answers. I feel like you return energy to somebody. So people who know you well, if they run into somebody who is speaking ill of you, they know that that person messed up because it's not you. You're not one to just roll over and take it. Like you're like, nope, I'm gonna scratch you and run off. I don't have to be here around your energy. I have my own like beautiful bright energy to focus on. So I feel like boundaries is something that is easy for you to set. I feel like you're able to say no. That may be something that you've had to grow into. I think you're very powerful in that way, and that your values, your boundaries, your your core of yourself. There's a lot of integrity here, is what I'm saying. She who is present, Therese, now awareness, acceptance. Yeah, you just accept, this is who I am. I'm not concerned about what somebody else thinks of me. That really has something more to do with them than what to do with you. You're comfortable in your beauty. And I feel like that thing that I said with Morgan Le Fay, where she was, you know, when she went off, she was sent off to a nunnery at first. And then like later in the stories, like she was the most beautiful, said to be the most beautiful woman in the world. And then as she started like becoming into her own power, or it's almost like rejecting maybe that masculinity, or rejecting, not that necessarily you can be you be a divine masculine, but rejecting that power, somebody who like somebody who can't manipulate you isn't going to see you as beautiful. And that's okay with you. You're fine. Again, people who know you, if they ever catch somebody speaking ill of you, they know where that's coming from. They know it's from that person. They know it's not necessarily from you. You're just returning that energy. Destroyer. So light attributes. Releasing what is potentially destructive and preparing for a new life. You know, this can be kind of a little chaotic. It can be, I feel like, you know, Morgan Le Fay is, you know, you're shining a light on things that really have been thriving in the dark. And you're shining a light on those things. Like I feel like you're somebody who could be a journalist, but like somebody who has integrity in those things. And is like, you fight for what you see is injustice. And I almost feel like you put other people ahead of you, and you are like the type of person to just blurt it out, to say it, to like, I'm gonna be blunt, and you know, you take it how you will. You're not gonna sugarcoat something for somebody's feelings. Like, it's you, this is how you see it. If they take it wrong, like, well, that's on you. So Destroyer is really interesting that this comes out, like burning bridges, that iconic image is coming to mind of that. What is it? I forget the actress's name, but she gets really mad and she like torches the guy's car, and she's like walking away with like that fire in the background. There was also a really cute movie with the guy who plays Drax, that wrestler. I know, I'm sorry. Where he did this movie with a child, and they wanted to do that. The kid, it was like a kid action movie, and the kid wanted to do the slow motion walk away with fire in the background. Like, that's you set something on fire, and you like this superhero vibe of you walk away slowly, like, yep, I did it, I burnt that down. Not because, yes, destroyer, but there's a purpose behind that destroyer. And I like that it's under this sunflower here, that it's a destroyer because you're shining the light on it. Like, it's something that needs to get destroyed. It's something that needs the light shined on it. It's something that needs to be exposed. Because, look what else we have. Because you're a creator. You pull things, this feels like a very tower kind of thing here, where you essentially, you see something that needs to be dismantled, and you're like, I gotta take this down, I gotta like pull it all down to the foundation, because we gotta build it back up. So I love that it's not only like, I always have a problem with people who just complain all the time. You're not one of those. You're somebody who like sees something is wrong, but you have a solution for it as well. So that's why we've got this destroyer, this creator. There's so many people who would go on to destroy things, but it's not constructive. Like that you would provide constructive criticism. And maybe your friends ask you your opinion about things, and they're like, ooh, that's harsh, but it's fair. Like, And then the creator here, take on the day with real imagination, be a maker, use your skills well, feel all of the drive and the self-expression you have in you. And I love that under the kitten. I think there you have a very intense energy, but it's also very playful. It can be very playful. Lovers. We've got the Ace of Wands reversed. It's interesting that you have that, well, of course, the sun with the sunflower. So it's interesting. And then the Two of Cups reversed. Wow, because that's an interesting juxtaposition here with the Lovers. So I'm just going to address, I think, the sun first with the sunflower. It's just a confirmation of the beautiful energy that you really do bring to things. It really is a victory, even though, like I said, sometimes it can seem kind of harsh. Like overall, it's just you're bringing attention, you're bringing light, you're bringing and a thing of joy to this. Lovers, Ace of Wands reverse, and then we've got the Two of Cups reverse. So I'll talk about these two cards first, I think. Lovers I see as, well, first of all, it's about communication. So you're not afraid to say things how they are. It's ruled by Gemini. Say it how it is, say things how they are, point out the obvious, maybe. I kind of think that might be hard sometimes in partnerships, and the Two of Cups is about, like, I always want to say you have no equal, because the Two of Cups is this partnership, this eye to eye, the seeing things eye to eye. And you're not, again, with the Destroyer, you're not afraid to burn it down, burn a bridge if you feel like you've been slighted, if you feel like you've been compromised. You have very strong convictions, very strong will here. But I almost feel like it's okay. I feel like you're okay agreeing to disagree because you're standing in your own power. You don't need a bunch of yes men around you to tell you, oh, this is great, or you're wonderful. You don't need that all the time. So and then we've got I feel like these two are really interesting together, and because the Ace of Wands would indicate like all of this potential and power of the creator when we have it upright. We have it in reverse. I think it just leads a little bit more to your, I think, more propensity to tear things down, and maybe just like a follow through would be good, or working on that follow through with this creation, because I do feel like you have a very powerful creator energy behind you. There's not a lot of structure, if you will, behind it. Sometimes we need that left brain and that right brain to kind of work together. There's a lot of right brain energy here, but if we don't bring in that left brain energy, and then things don't really get done. So that would be like my only caution, I think, with the Ace of Wands reversed, because we do have this creative energy, we do have this imagination, this, like I was saying here about, because these two cards are kind of go together, there's a tension here. So just be careful, like when you are destroying things, that you do have that, I think most of the time you do have that, like those ideas on, okay, but I realize we took this down here. I realize I told you guys that I didn't like this, but what if we took it in this way? What if we take these elements and then shift them, reframe them? And because I feel like you could be a very big leader. I'm not sure that you want to be a leader. I feel like there's a lot, kind of some loner energy here, but I think you could be a big leader. I also feel like the lovers here, I think you value connections. I think you value love. Maybe you've just been burned a couple times here. But the Lovers, I also feel like, is an evolution. It is what happens to Adam and Eve? They have everything they've ever wanted and more, but they don't even know that. They don't even know they have everything until they don't. And so it's kind of an upgrade in consciousness. I kind of feel like, and Morgan Le Fay through her life was upgrading her skills and her consciousness too. I think you're somebody who not only helps others but do that, but you might consider yourself like a lifelong learner, learning new skills. You may even shift pretty heavily between different jobs. That might have to do with this destroyer, where you're just in an industry and it's like it doesn't work out for you and you kind of burn that bridge. So just be careful with that energy. I think that might be why we have the Two of Cups reversed as well. Again, because I don't feel like I'm feeling a very strong energy here. I don't feel you sugarcoat things. So I don't want to hold you back from that. I just, I think you're prepared for the consequences of that, because you're like constantly moving forward and moving on. And you might also feel like, even though you're shifting gears and going from like a completely different maybe career path, or I feel like you're somebody who could just pick up and move to another city really easily. Like, you get it, you understand it. You're not somebody who starts over from scratch. You're somebody who starts over from experience. So that's what I have for you, Group 3. I hope that you have an amazing day. Thanks so much for being here with me, and I will see you in the next reading.